Coming up to the stage, first up, comes in with a tall brown beard. And probably the only thing me and him got in common is getting searched at the airport. Give it up for Mr. James motherfucking Draper!
How's it going? So, anybody like black people? They're cool. I'm not saying that because Cash Money's black, just incidentally, like, I'm starting the show, so I'm saying, like, I wanted to say something that you can all get behind. Like, I figured that nobody would be like, fuck black people. So, I just wanted to get, like, the energy up. So, yeah, just give it up for black people. They're pretty cool. Yeah, because they actually also, on that same note, there's Black History Month is next month, and which that's pretty cool too. But the thing about it, like a lot of times there's like when you talk about Black History Month, there's like some asshole that thinks he's clever, and they're like, well, what about White History Month? And we have that actually, but it's every month, and we just call it history. Because it's written from a white perspective, sort of thing. I feel like it's funnier if I explain it, maybe. I don't know. Some people say that, actually, optimists like to say that if life gives you lemons, just to make lemonade. And that's, you know, all well and good, but you can't really do much else unless you also have water, sugar, ice, a pitcher, and a juicer. So it doesn't really translate this well. And also, I think a lot of people say that optimists see the glass half full and pessimists see the glass half empty. And I think whether empty or full doesn't matter because it's exactly the same amount. I think we should use a different fraction to describe pessimists. I think we should use thirds, because 1/3 percentage-wise is 33.3 repeating percent. And so if you multiply that by 3, that's 99.9 repeating percent, which is not quite 100. Which means if you divide it again, it means one person is getting 0.1 repeating percent more, and everybody else is getting screwed. Oh, anybody drinking tonight? I am. I love drinking. I think I like it too much. I think I might be becoming an alcoholic, because there's certain... Okay. There's certain things that tip me off, like... For example, anytime I see someone drinking like soda or juice, I don't see soda or juice. It looks like just a mixer to me. I'm like, why are you drinking that straight out of the can? That's weird. Like, why just drink the shitty half of a rum and coke? Doesn't make any sense. You know, and I think you know you're becoming an alcoholic when you're concerned that your mixer budget is too high. So, I go through depression sometimes, and it sucks because when I'm depressed, the only thing I care about really is apathy. But a lot of times, when I'm depressed, I'll drink a lot, and also sometimes I'll take Prozac, and I notice on the Prozac bottle it says, do not drink while taking this medication, and I look at it, and I'm like, that's backwards. They should put that in an alcohol bottle. It should say, do not take Prozac while drinking this medication. That's what I do. But depression's a shitty thing to talk about a lot of times because, like, when you say you have it, I don't want people to think that I'm saying it for sympathy. And also, you know, it's not as bad as a lot of, you know, as it sounds, I don't think. Because most things you could have are either incurable or can be cured by only one specific thing. Like, allergies, the only thing that will work for that is allergy medicine. But with depression, I find a lot of things work, like alcohol, opiates, marijuana, masturbation, overeating, oversleeping, undereating, healthy relationships, unhealthy relationships, video games, cocaine. I mean, on any given day, that's like 10 options, automatically. Oh, yeah. Oh, here's an interesting thing I found out recently. I recently found out that Kool-Aid is both singular and plural because there's no such thing as Kool-Aids. Apparently. I was watching TV earlier today, and the TV asked me what I would do for a Klondike bar, so I had to come up with an answer, and I think I would probably pay like up to $1.50 maybe. So I had an opportunity to go to a protest about 1.5 years ago. The Westboro Baptist Church came to town. I don't know if you know who those are. It's the God Hates Fags people. Like, they became famous for picketing soldiers' funerals and stuff. But they were outside the OU Hillel Center, the Jewish Student Center, and it was Rosh Hashanah because they were protesting Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. And it was actually a lot of fun because I went with a group of friends, and there was an even bigger counter-protest group there protesting the Westboro Baptist Church. And my friends started to walk up to join that group, but I kind of hesitated because, like, I sort of wanted to hear, like, both sides of the argument. You know, like, I decided I should keep an open mind and not just assume that the Westboro Baptist Church were, like, intolerant bigots, you know. And so I did some research and eventually ended up joining the group that was against the Westboro Baptist Church, but it wasn't for any ideological reason, really. It was just because they were protesting against gays, Jews, and Obama, and I was like, you can't just fucking lump all your grievances into one protest. Like, it's Rosh Hashanah, let's stick with the Jew bashing. You know, we can move on to gays next week. Just like, structurally, it was a little too cluttered, I thought. Because the other group, their message was simpler, which was basically just, really? Fuck off. So I have a friend named Sam, and he's allergic to gluten, which really sucks because it means he can't eat Play-Doh because it has wheat in it. I also have a friend named Robert, and he's like terrified of moths. But I think he's just afraid of change because he doesn't fear caterpillars. And my friend Daniel's a communist, but he's like really good at Monopoly, which I think is weird. And I hate Monopoly. I like dice because I'm really skilled at games of chance. So I work in a deli in Homeland, and a lot of times when you order food at a deli, it's not uncommon for someone to be like, if you get like a half pound, be like, oh, it's a little over, is that okay? And a lot of times if someone orders like a 1/3 pound, I'll be like, I couldn't get the 3 to repeat. Is that okay? The machine rounds up. But this woman came up to my counter once and she ordered like a certain amount of meat. It doesn't matter what it is, and I can't remember. And she wanted it shredded, she said. So I was like, okay, I can do that. So I take it and I put it on the meat slicer and I cut it and I hand it back to her. And then she says, I said shredded, but I'll still eat it. To which I said, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for taking the high road. Like, I bet she's at home, like, eating a sandwich, and she's just like, that motherfucker. This sandwich would be so much better if this meat were marginally thinner. And I hate shredding meat because it makes my arm tired, so when people want it that way, I try to dissuade them, and I'll be like, do you want it thicker and holding together like a successful marriage, or thin and falling apart like your relationship with your spouse? That generally works. Anybody grow up watching Rocko's Modern Life? Yeah, I did too, actually. And I love that show. And I'm actually working on a remake of it right now. And but my version's going to be called Rocko's Postmodern Life. And it's going to be pretty much the same thing, but it's going to reject the grand cultural narrative of the original. I was just thinking the other day how much I really love duality, but sometimes I fucking hate it. Isn't it so embarrassing when you accidentally clap in between movements at a piano recital? I'm also really glad that the Earth doesn't rotate any faster because it would make it more difficult to go west. There's a particular NBA basketball team called the Oklahoma City Thunder that I like. I don't know if anybody else does. But I've never really been like much of a sports fan. But I worked at the Ford Center last basketball season, and it was actually a really cool job. I liked it a lot because I got to work, all the Thunder games and like whatever concerts they had going on at the time. And in case you've never been to a game, I'm going to tell you that like right before each game starts, they play a song that requests that the fans thunder up. Now, I was kind of like not that good at it for a long time because they didn't go into much detail about how to do it, and it was kind of embarrassing for a while. But I got really good at it now. But my problem now is that I can't thunder back down. Like, I stayed thundered up for like 3 days once, and people were really concerned. And I was like, I'm just thundered out of my fucking mind right now. Like, I need some space. Like, there's really only like a 2 or 3 hour time period where being thundered up is like socially acceptable. Yeah. And then anything after that is just awkward. Like, can't drive. So I only have one impression that I do, but you guys want to see it? It's my impression of Rosa Parks. This is my impression of Rosa Parks. No!
That's so good.
Thanks, Amber. Thanks for coming. So, Ted Kennedy died recently, and, that's neither here nor there, but the significant thing about it is that he died of natural causes, which means that, statistically, he was the least assassinated Kennedy brother. And the Kennedys were famous for being Catholic, and I am not Catholic, but I wonder sometimes, do you think pedophilia rates drop during Lent? I was reading the Bible the other day, and there's this guy in there named the Pharaoh, and he like owned all these slaves, and I was like, more like un-Pharaoh. I was driving around earlier in my car, and I saw this bumper sticker that someone had, and it said, "Love it or leave it." And I have to be honest, I agree completely, because why would you criticize something when you could ignore it? Like, why offer constructive critical feedback to a problematic situation when you could instead book a flight, apply for a passport, pack up all your belongings, learn another language, and then immerse yourself in another culture for the rest of your life? Like, that's clearly the more patriotic thing to do. Man, this is awesome. I want to thank all of you guys for coming out. This is an awesome crowd. I have one more joke left. And I was talking to this guy that I know the other day about another guy that we both know. And in referring to him, he said, "Oh, you mean that Chinese guy?" And I was like, "Well, no, actually, he's Laotian." To which he said, "What's the difference?" So I had to explain it to him. And I was like, "Oh, not much, just culture, religion, heritage, race, ethnicity, identity, macroeconomics, microeconomics, amount of respect shown toward the elderly, journalistic integrity, internet memes, humidity, topography, climate." I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. Like, I don't know why they even have two different words to distinguish between China and Laos, It's fucking redundant. They just call them Asians. Thanks to you so much. You guys have been awesome.